Welcome to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. Quick, actionable tips to master personal finance and real estate investing. In just 5 minutes a day, we'll help you build wealth and achieve financial freedom. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the 5-Minute Prime Podcast. I'm your host, Martin Maxwell. Today we're tackling a question that's on everyone's mind in 2025. What the heck is affordability in the housing market? And why should you, as a potential buyer, seller, or investor, even care? It's not just jargon, folks. Affordability is, quite simply, the gap between your wallet and your dream home, or your next investment property. And in 2025, that gap is, frankly, a major challenge. And it's shaping the market in ways you need to understand, especially if you're an investor. I am talking of 4.5 million home shortage. So, let's unpack it. Okay, let's get down to basics. What is housing affordability? It's not just about the price tag on a house. It's about whether a family with a median income, that's the income right in the middle, can afford to buy a median-priced home without becoming house poor. Think of affordability like a seesaw. On one side, you've got your income, your paycheck, your savings, your ability to borrow. On the other side, you've got the total cost of housing, and that includes the mortgage payment, principal and interest, property taxes, and homeowners insurance. The rule of thumb, the guideline that most financial experts in the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, recommend is that your total housing costs shouldn't exceed 30% of your gross monthly income. Now, there's a handy metric called the Housing Affordability Index, or HAI. It's like a report card for the housing market. A score of 100 means the average family can just afford the average home. Below 100, they're stretching their budget. In Q3 of 2024, the overall HAI was 99.3, but for first-time homebuyers was at 65.8. Recent data from the National Association of Realtors shows that a significant percentage of households can't afford a median-priced home without exceeding that 30% threshold. We're talking about a major affordability crunch. So we've established that there's a problem. But why is affordability so squeezed in 2025? What are the forces at play? There are three main culprits behind the affordability crisis: interest rates, home prices, and inventory, or more accurately, the lack of inventory. And there's a fourth factor that's making things even tighter: the lock-in effect. First up, interest rates. As of early 2025, mortgage rates are hovering around 6.8% to 7.08%. That's down from the peaks we saw in 2023, but it's way higher than the historically low rates of around 3% we saw back in 2021. That difference has a massive impact on your buying power. A 1% increase can slash your ability to borrow by 10%. Now, what about home prices? While interest rates play a major role, we can't ignore home prices. The median home value in the U.S. is around $355,328, and prices are still rising, although at a slower pace than in previous years. Forecasts for 2025 predict continued, though moderate, price growth. Next, the big squeeze that is inventory. This is the third and arguably the biggest piece of the puzzle. We simply don't have enough homes for sale to meet demand. As of January 2025, there was only a 3.7-month supply of homes on the market. A balanced market, where neither buyers nor sellers have a huge advantage, is generally considered to be around 5 to 6 months of supply. We're way below that. Okay, what's the lock-in effect then? Remember those homeowners who snagged those amazing 3% mortgage rates a few years ago? They're locked in. They're reluctant to sell and move because they'd be facing much higher rates on their next home. This lock-in effect is keeping a huge number of existing homes off the market, further constricting supply and pushing prices up. So we've got this perfect storm: high rates, high prices, low inventory, and the lock-in effect. What does that mean for you, whether you're a buyer, a seller, or an investor? Affordability isn't just a problem for first-time homebuyers. It has a ripple effect throughout the entire real estate market, and it definitely impacts investors. First, impact on rental demand. When fewer people can afford to buy, more people are forced to rent. This can increase demand for rental properties, potentially driving up rents. Sounds good for landlords, right? But there's a limit. If rents become too high relative to incomes, you start to see increased vacancy rates, tenant turnover, and even potential for rent decreases in some markets. Remember that vacancy risk we talked about in the previous episodes? Now, There's also impact on property values. While low inventory can support prices in the short term, long-term affordability issues can eventually put downward pressure on property values. If fewer and fewer people can afford to buy, demand eventually weakens. This also changes investment strategies. Strategies that worked in a low interest rate, high inventory environment might not work as well now. So, what are some smart investor strategies in this challenging environment? 1. Focus on workforce housing. As we touched on in episode 22, targeting the rental market for essential workers, teachers, nurses, firefighters can provide more stability in an uncertain market. These renters may not be able to afford luxury properties, but they need quality, affordable housing. 2. Value add strategies. Instead of chasing overpriced properties, look for properties that need some work, cosmetic upgrades, renovations, or even additions. This allows you to force appreciation by increasing the property's value through your own efforts, rather than relying solely on market appreciation. 3. Creative financing. Explore options beyond traditional mortgages. Seller financing, subject to deals, or partnerships can help you acquire properties with less reliance on conventional loans and current interest rates, as we covered some of these in episode 17, I for Invest. 5. Smaller, more affordable markets. Consider expanding your search beyond the major overheated metropolitan areas. Look for smaller cities or towns with solid economic fundamentals and a growing population. Now, as you can see, that the key is to be adaptable, creative, and focused on the fundamentals. All right, let's wrap this up. Affordability is the central challenge in the 2025 housing market. It's impacting buyers, sellers, and especially investors. It's being driven by a combination of still elevated interest rates, high, though potentially stabilizing home prices, a persistent inventory shortage, and the lock-in effect of existing homeowners. But understanding the problem is the first step to finding solutions. As an investor, you need to be aware of these forces, adapt your strategies accordingly, and focus on finding deals that make sense despite the affordability challenges. Today's challenge, I want you to do some research on your local market. What's the median home price? What are the average rents? What's the inventory situation? Start to get a feel for the affordability landscape in your area. This will inform your investment decisions. And as always, if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the 5 Minute Prime podcast, share it with a friend who's interested in real estate, and leave us a review. You can find more resources and tools at reiprime.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building your future.